This first video is going to be used to introduce your very first speech, which is going to be your introduction speech. The parameters for the speech can be found on Canvas, but this video will give you a quick rundown of what is expected for this very first speech. Now, I understand it's your very first speech. You might be a little bit nervous. You might be a little bit apprehensive, but try not to worry about any of that. Try not to get bogged down by what could happen, etc. Just try to treat it as a way for us to get to know you a little bit better, because the subject of this speech is you as an individual. We're trying to get to know you as an individual a little bit better. So share with us one of the following. Either your family history, if there's anything there that is interesting that you would like to share about, your interests, if there's anything there that is interesting that you would like to share about, or your experiences, if you have a specific story that you want to share with us that you could elaborate on to help us get to know you a little bit better. Now, this speech, the expectations are 2 to 3 minutes, at least 2 minutes, because you're going to have two distinct main points. And with two distinct main points, you're going to need at least a minute for each. So you'll probably hit around 3 minutes, closer to 3 minutes rather than 2 minutes. But try to remain within 2 to 3 minutes. It makes it easier to hit the time constraints if we keep it within that time range. So a part of the expectations as well is to have it organized according to the expectations outlined here in this video, as well as on the Canvas assignment sheet. So the organization is going to include your introduction, a body, and conclusion. But first of all, the introduction of the speech should have some sort of attention getter. Find a way to get us to pay attention to your speech. Find a way to draw us into your speech. Now, there can be a number of different ways that you could do that. You could use a quotation, you could use a joke, make sure that you're funny first, otherwise, but you can use a quotation, statistic, etc. For this first speech, it'll probably be something very simple, like a quotation or a joke, something like that. But for later speeches, you kind of get a little bit more involved when it comes to creating an attention getter. Next would be your thesis statement. For this first introduction speech, your thesis statement is actually going to be something as simple as saying, today we're going to learn a little bit about me in relation to whatever you're sharing with us, whether that is your family history, your experiences, or your interests. And after you give that thesis statement, you're going to tell us how we're going to achieve learning about you in relation to whatever you're sharing with us, by telling us that first, you're going to share your first main point, if it's a story that relates to that specific thing. And second, through your cultural artifact. So you're going to give us some sort of physical representation of this speech that helps to represent you and an aspect of what you're sharing with us. So the organization or the body of the speech, your two main points are going to be: introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you in 1 minute. So if you're telling us a little bit about you as a gamer, so you're going to tell us a little bit about what kind of games you like to play. And then if you're sharing with us that you're a gamer, your second main point is going to be sharing that cultural artifact with us. So if you have some sort of object that represents a game that is your favorite game or that got you into gaming, then that's where you're going to share that cultural artifact with us in your second main point. Why does it represent what you're trying to share with us? So for main point 1, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself in 1 minute in relation to with what you're sharing with us. If it's your family history, if there's something interesting where you have, say, a famous person as part of your family tree, and you're sharing that with us, that's what you're going to tell us in that 1 minute. And in your second main point, you're going to share with us that physical object or that cultural artifact that represents that specific aspect of your identity. Finally, your conclusion, you're going to tell us what we just learned about you. And then you're going to tell us how we learned about it by talking about these two main points. And finally, dismiss. Finally, you're going to find a way to end it on a note that's memorable. So if you use a quotation, you might return to that quotation in order to get us to have that feeling of like, oh, cool. That's how they ended their speech. So that's it for this first speech. Very simple. Again, have fun with it. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about all of you.